Well, good morning. I hope your day is off to a good start. Today is the last Sunday in June, which means the calendar is moving way too fast for me. Today we're going to be talking about an organization that's made a major effort to provide opportunities for people to lead an active outdoor lifestyle. It starts right now.
From TV6, this is The Ryan Report. Now here's your host, Don Ryan.
Well, the name Nokemanon is familiar to many people in Upper Michigan as the sponsor of the Midwest's premier cross-country ski race. But there's much more to the organization than that. This morning we'll find out more about the Nokemanon Trails Network, past, present, and future, as we talk with someone who has a long history of involvement with the group. Our guest is Lori Nilberg-Wiesen. Lori, welcome to the Ryan Report.
Thank you, Don.
Nice to have you with us. Nice to have you with us. I always like to have our audience get a chance to know our guests. Besides Nokemanon, you spent a whole career in the healthcare industry.
Yes. I was a nurse administrator at Marquette General Hospital for close to 40 years, retired 2 years ago, and learned a lot through that experience. And since I retired a little bit on the young side, I knew I wasn't ready to just go out to pasture, so I needed something meaningful to do.
Okay. So what actually brought you into the Nokemanon organization?
Well, I'm an equestrian,
Okay.
and when I heard about the development of this trail network, I realized that their focus was non-motorized trails. And that's very appealing to a horseback rider because, you know, horses and traffic don't always mix. And so I wanted to find out more.
And you got involved.
I did. That was back in 2002. And it was a fledgling organization at the time, and actually I wasn't extremely well received as a horseback rider. Their focus was mostly Nordic ski trails and the development of hiking trails, and there were some concerns about horses and erosion being an issue, so it took some time for us to find our common ground.
And of course, your interest is greater than just equestrian now too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that really went to the back seat as I learned more about what the board was trying to accomplish. And at the time, in 2002, it was exclusively a Nordic skiing operation. And of course, the Nokemanon Ski Marathon was the genesis of developing the trail network. And so that was my basis for understanding. But as time went on, I realized that through the efforts of many different people that there were going to be some big objectives to meet.
A couple of points I want to pick up on there. Number one, people. This is an excellent example of an organization of what people can do when they decide to set out to do something. It really takes a committed group of volunteers, doesn't it?
That's absolutely true. And like many nonprofits, we only have one full-time employee. But the amount of things that we can get done is primarily through very committed and enthusiastic board members and volunteers. I find myself doing things that I never thought I would do, timing races and, you know, standing guard at road crossings, and, you know, not things that take a ton of intellectual capital, but still very important to keep a safe environment for the users.
And let's go back on that history point a little bit too. Really the whole thing started with the Nokemanon Ski Marathon, didn't it?
Yeah, actually today I was reviewing some of the history, and cross-country skiing has a long, wonderful history in our area, probably dating back to when the Finnish immigrants came over. But the thing that happened was related to lack of consistent grooming of ski trails and land access. The people that were involved early on were finding that, for instance, the Blueberry Ridge Pathway wasn't being groomed very consistently by the DNR due to state funding issues. Land between Ishpeming and Marquette was being closed off because landowners didn't want the liability. So this forward-thinking group of people said, we need to develop an interconnected, year-round, non-motorized trail network that will make sure that we have a legacy for the future to our children and others.
And of course, for those who don't know, the Caymanon Ski Marathon actually traverses a course that runs from Ishpeming to Marquette.
Yes, it's a pretty exciting pathway. The section that is west of County Road 510 is a one-day use ski trail that we have landowner permission. We groom it once a year, and it's a 52-kilometer race. I've done it once. It's really gorgeous and beautiful, and it takes you from the Elkwall area, recreation area, all the way down to the Superior Dome. And it's a very unique kind of race, a point-to-point race. People always make very lovely comments about the terrain, the people, and the preparedness that we go through to get ready.
And a key to that really is being able to use some lands that the Caymanon doesn't own. They aren't even permanent trail systems, but you are able to get agreement from landowners to be able to run this race.
Yeah, and not just the ski race, but many other events. We have about 110 landowner agreements. Generally for one-day permits, we add them as an additional insured onto our liability insurance, make sure they know where the pathway is going to go through their land. And without the cooperation of these landowners, we would really have a very limited ability to go forward. The city of Marquette is another perfect example of the cooperation that has to happen when you look at the development that's gone on down at the South Trails for our single-track bikes.
Okay. We'll talk more about the race and other Caymanon activities after we take a break. Back after this commercial break on the Ryan Report. Our guest this morning is Lori Nelberg-Wiesen. We're talking about the Caymanon Trail Network, finishing up on the race. Next year, I think it's coming up on January 28th, the Caymanon, the marathon itself.
Yeah, but you know, it's turned into a 3-day event now.
Right.
We have the Junior Caymanon on Friday night. The big ski race is on Saturday. The ski jour, which is a skier being pulled by dogs, happens on Sunday. The use of fat tire bikes has become just an exploding sport, and keeping a lot of our sports shops in good stead.
Right. Do we have any idea how many people this brings to the Marquette area?
You know, I don't know that there's really great statistics on this. I was doing a little bit of ciphering on how many registrations that we probably bring in. Of course, some of those are going to be from the Upper Peninsula, but with all of our 7 major events, we probably have 5,000 to 6,000 registrations. People that pay money to come here and participate in a really well-run event, have fun. But the thing that is really remarkable is that when people come for these events, they discover Marquette.
Right.
And they are so impressed with the hospitality and the terrain, the quality of our natural resources. You know, not only the snow, but the trails we've built. And I think that bodes well for us. I don't know the exact economic impact by event, but just the 2 biggies, which are the Ore to Shore mountain bike and the Caymanon Ski Marathon, there's got to be multiple millions of dollars worth of economic impact to our region.
You know, and as big as the race is, in some ways, isn't the trail system itself bigger, and the use that both local people and visitors get to make cross-country skiing throughout the winter?
Yeah, I am one of the people that kind of watches over the Nordic ski operations, and particularly at our Forestville trailhead, where we have a building and we have the majority of our equipment. We look at memberships. For instance, this past year, I think we have about 550 people who have become members of the NTN. That helps us sustain some of our projects. And skier visits is another thing, skiers and biker visits. Those exceed multiple thousands of people. Many of them are local, but if you check out a parking lot on a given day or weekend, you'll see Wisconsin, Minnesota, New Hampshire, all over the place. And you think, wow, how did they find out about us? That's so nice.
And how do you keep all these trails groomed?
Well, in the wintertime, grooming is quite an expensive adventure. You have to use motorized equipment, such as we have a Bombardier giant snowcat that pulls a very sophisticated grooming piece of equipment behind it. We have snowmobiles that pull grooming equipment. The single track has actually developed their own method of grooming their trails to keep them
This would be for the bike.
flat. Yeah, snow biking is a very up and coming sport, and our people on our single track committee do a wonderful job of grooming those trails both at the south and north locations.
You've also put some effort into developing the trailheads, I believe, in the case of both sports, and you have some facilities there,
Yeah.
and parking areas. And
Yes, I'll speak to the Forestville trailhead first. We recently made an investment in enlarging our parking lot. We can now fit about 100 cars up there. We also have the pavilion at the South Trails that was built with volunteer labor, and it's a nice place for people to be able to change their clothes, sit down and sit at a picnic table, and their parking lot is next on their agenda of developments. And so we actually are also trying to get into the camping business. Rustic camping apparently is not that available around here, according to several people I spoke to. So we're talking about developing a rustic campground at the Forestville Trailhead facility in Marquette Township, and having that as another way for people to enjoy our trails, since they're right contiguous with the campground.
Okay, and I think a lot of people are probably not familiar with it, but this single track bike racing has really brought tremendous attention to Marquette and the Marquette County and the UP.
Yes, yes. If you haven't been to the South Trails to check out some of the developments out there, it's absolutely amazing what they're doing with like berms made with special equipment, with bridges, with all sorts of features that are making it attractive and safe to go out there. We've got trails out by the Gray Walls golf course, within right off of County Road 553, within the eyesight of Marquette Mountain. There's just a lot of opportunity to see waterfalls, and so yes, we've been recognized by Bike Magazine, which is a national publication, and also the International Mountain Biking Association has named Marquette a ride center, which is one of their designations that we meet standards of quality and safety in their book.
Okay, we have to take a break. Back with more on the Ryan Report in just 2 minutes. And once again, we're talking this morning with Lori Nelberg-Wiesen, talking about the Cayman Island Trail Network. Before we leave the single-track biking, these are some pretty challenging courses. This is not necessarily for the amateur if you don't pick your course carefully.
The good thing is that they have rated them for abilities, and if it says expert on the legend, you should probably believe that.
Right.
But there are trails for people that don't want to be accelerating their speed too much or getting into too narrow of a location. So I think that there's something for everyone out there, and they're constantly building more terrain so that there should be something for everyone out there, no matter what your ability.
Okay. A number of years ago, the city of Marquette purchased an Arabesque tent, and I remember that because I was a member of the city commission at the time.
Yes.
It didn't work out well for the city, and your organization has taken over ownership. What are your plans for this unique piece of equipment?
Well, we were given an opportunity by the city and the Rotary West, who is the sponsor of HarborFest, to purchase it and maintain it. We could use it whenever we wanted, and we're planning to put the tent up on the 28th next week and leave it up for most of the summer and have it as a venue for festivals, wedding receptions, family reunions, anything that a person might think they might want that kind of protection for their audience or their, musical events.
And for those who haven't seen it, this is quite a facility. It holds quite a few people and a stage, and
yes,
it's not just a little tent.
It is beautiful, and if you check out our Facebook page that's called Forestville 2016, there's some really lovely pictures of the tent up at Forestville last summer when we had our first Forestville Music and Craft Beer Festival.
Okay, and you have a festival coming up again this year.
Yes, we were so encouraged by the enthusiasm of the people that came, the quality of the music, the different craft brewers. We have, I think last year we had 3, this year we have 7 brewers. It's going to be on the 16th of July, and we guarantee it's going to be a beautiful sunny day. And like last year,
if it's not, you have an arabesque tent.
We do, and it makes for the perfect backdrop for our entertainment. I believe we have 8 bands that will go from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. that day. Camping is available. It's really quite a fun event.
And even though these trails are focused here in Marquette County, you do draw from all over certainly the central UP and from the UP as well.
Oh, absolutely. I make it a habit when I'm at the Forestville Trailhead, in the wintertime particularly, asking people where they're from, where they're staying, how'd they find out about us, and it's often because of our different sporting events, but some people are just online surfing around using keywords like cross-country skiing, Michigan, and finding us. And they often will say, you have to tell more people about this place. This is amazing. And that's a real vote of confidence that we hope to build that awareness as time goes on.
The organization has many moving parts, many things going on, but as you pointed out, it's really a cadre of volunteers who make this all happen.
The Nokemanon Trail Network, the 501c3, has recently kind of rebranded itself as an umbrella organization for events that have a like-minded mission, that being a non-motorized athletic kind of competition, or, for instance, this coming weekend, the Trails Festival will go on. That's competitive and non-competitive. Brings families together, they have bonfires, they have a lot of social related things that you don't have to necessarily be one of these really high-end athletes. And probably 95% of the people that come to the Forestville Trailhead are not, superior athletes. They're people that want to stay fit, that enjoy the outdoors. Makes the winter go by really fast.
We have only less than 30 seconds left. Fundraising is important, support is important, membership is important, I'm sure. And you can use all the help you can get.
We can, and if you want to go to our website at noktrails.org, you can find out more about us and perhaps consider becoming a member.
Well, again, I think it's a great example of what people can do when they work together to make something happen, and there are many other great examples around the UP, but this one certainly is outstanding. Lori, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, back with some thoughts on social media in just a couple of minutes. Well, today we hear a lot about social media. So many people are doing it today, and it's a way of life for young people. So what is it? One definition describes it as the use of computers or cell phones to allow people or companies to create, share, or exchange information, interests, ideas, and pictures in virtual communities and networks. It can range from something as simple as texting to posting information on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, or any number of other developing internet communication tools. In fairness, I have to admit that I do use some of those tools and at times find them useful and sometimes fun. But the question is, has it gone too far? Clearly, we've come a long way from the days when people used telegrams to send important messages. And we thought twice before making an expensive long-distance call on that rotary phone attached to the wall with a cord. Even letters sent through the postal service are becoming a thing of the past. We want instant communication, and that's something that social media can provide. So with social media becoming so much a part of our culture, I began to wonder if it was appropriately named. I began by exploring the definitions of social, which included living or preferring to live as part of a community or colony rather than alone, allowing people to meet and interact with others in a friendly way, tending to seek out the company of others. Perhaps all that social media isn't really all that social. It's true we do get to interact with people, but we never have to see them face to face. And in some cases, we don't even know them. They're a Facebook friend, a Twitter follower, or a Snapchatter. I can't help but remember the good old days when a friend was someone we met with face to face, at least once in a while. Friends were people who were there for us when we needed them. Are we creating a whole new category of friends to include people we never actually see in person? Maybe the term social media isn't exactly appropriate, so perhaps the answer is to add a new definition to the word social. How about exchanging messages and pictures with a lot of people we don't really know, but who are part of our circle of internet friends? That seems to work. Anyway, it's time for me to wrap this up. I have some things I need to post on Facebook and a couple of texts to send out. Thanks to social media, I have more friends than I ever had in my life. Someday, I may actually get to meet them. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Well, once again, we've run out of time for another week. Thanks to Lori Nelberg-Wiesen for joining us this morning to talk about so many good things happening with the Nakaemanon Trail Network. Keep in mind that if you miss our show or want to see it again, you can find it at uppermichigansource.com. Go to the home page, click on the navigation icon, those 3 horizontal lines in the upper left corner, and you can find a listing for the Ryan Report. The latest show is usually posted on Monday afternoon. Time for us to make way for the Today Show. I'm really happy you could join us this morning, and I hope we can see you again next Sunday morning.